Hello, my name is Brent Hutchison, and today I'll be analyzing a significant turning point in our course that the moment the personal computer actually became personal. One of the first computers was the ENIAC, the ENIAC, the ENIAC. It was the first general purpose electronic digital computer in 1945. However, this project focuses on the 2 decades between 1970 and 1990, when the PC didn't just get faster, it created a social revolution of sorts. Let's see how that happened. So, in order to understand the scale of the revolution, we needed to know what computing looked like before. Before the 70s, you couldn't just buy a computer. The power of computing was a monopoly, as it was expensive and took up a lot of space and almost entirely controlled by big organizations like banks and governments. As we saw before, one of the first computers was the ENIAC in 1945. Suddenly, things changed with the invention of the microchip and more affordable, smaller machines like the Apple II, which was an 8-bit PC introduced by Apple in 1977. This leads into my main argument that the personal computer boom from the 1970s to the 1990s took power away from large institutions and made them accessible to everyday people like me and you, making it easier for everyone to find information and create their own businesses. In the next few slides, I'll break it down into three main impacts: how the PC helped share information more freely, how it powered the economy, and lastly, how it challenged the people who used to hold all the power. So, what actually allowed that shift to happen? The answer is the microprocessor. It cut the size and cost of computing, making it something that could fit on a desktop. The first people to use this technology were groups like the Homebrew Computer Club in California, who started to build their own machines like the Altair 8800s you see here. It was just switches and lights, but for these people, they didn't just want access to a big computer, they wanted personal control over it. This led to machines like Apple II that took hobbyists' ideas and packaged them. It was easy to use and ready for the public. By turning the PC into a usable machine, pioneers were ready to launch the next decade of adoption, which brings us to our first major impact, that is information access. A huge impact of the personal computer was breaking what could be called the information barrier. Think back to the 70s. If you wanted to share an idea or an analysis, you had to rely on major newspapers, a publisher, or a university press to distribute your content. They were the gatekeepers, as they were deciding what the public got to see. Suddenly, the computer on your desk wasn't simply just a calculator, it was a powerful tool for communication. Early digital communities like the bulletin board systems and Usenet, individuals could directly share their ideas, debate, as well as organize with others, all without needing permission from a central authority. This was essential for creating what we now call information democracy. People were no longer just consumers of information, they became publishers and active participants in their own networks. This paved the way for the internet we use today. But the PC didn't only change how we communicate, it also changed how we work. Next, we'll look into how it changed the economy through entrepreneurial growth. Before the PC, if you wanted to run a small business or a serious company, tasks like budgeting, accounting, or creating professional documents that are needed to hire experts and buy expensive equipment, the entry cost was incredibly high. The PC broke that barrier thanks to software like VisiCalc and Lotus 123, which are the very first digital spreadsheets. Suddenly, a individual running a business out of their garage could track their inventory and forecast sales with the same computing power that had previously been restricted to massive corporations. And this was accessible for just a few $100s. This empowerment was massive. The PC made it possible for small businesses to compete with well-established organizations, leading to an explosion of new businesses. Now let's look at how the shift challenged the powerful institutions that used to be in control of computing. So when you give power to millions of people to find information and run their own finances, it leads to a challenge of the organizations that used to control everything. Before the personal computer, control of computing was connected to the mainframes. If only the government could process certain data, they were in control of knowledge and power. But by making computers decentralized, the PC took power out of the hands of the larger organizations. A person that's armed with a computer could now question the data and communicate with others to organize without the need for an official channel. The PC became a symbol of individual agency and autonomy. This shift driven by this technology is why the period from 1970 to 1990 is so crucial. It established that the power of computing should ultimately belong to the people. Now that we've covered the three impacts, let's wrap up with our conclusions. To conclude, the rise of the PC between 1970 and 1990 was a lot more than just a technological upgrade from the previous versions. It was a very important shift in how power and information operate within society. We discussed three ways this revolution played out. It broke the information barrier, which allowed ordinary people to become publishers and connect with each other in digital communities. How it fueled empowerment in the economy by lowering the cost of tools like spreadsheets and making entrepreneurship more accessible. These shifts also challenged the centralized authority by decentralizing power and making the individual user the actual center of the digital world. This revolution really set the foundation for everything we do online in the modern day. From social media to e-commerce, it shows that when technology is made affordable and accessible, it's very important for democracy and individual freedoms. But yeah, thank you for listening. Here's the works cited slide showing the research that supported this presentation.